1, 2, 3, 4.
Chant down Babylon kingdom, city make we chant down Vatican now. Bang bling bling, chant down Babylon kingdom, city make we chant down Vatican now. Chant down Babylon kingdom, city make we chant down Vatican now. Bang bling bling, chant down Babylon kingdom, city make we chant down Vatican now.
Yo, what up, y'all? It's Babylon 5 Podcast. It's your boy, Jermaine Event. How you guys doing? How's your week been? It's your boy, as I said, Jermaine Event. This is episode 91. We're calling this bad boy Dana White Privilege. Oh yes, episode 91 is called Dana White Privilege. If you didn't see the press conference for UFC 262, Tony Ferguson mentioned that Michael Chandler turned down a fight with him earlier in the year. And he said that he was gifted the title fight. And he was like, man, let's be real. You were gifted this. You got Dana White privilege. And Dana White just starts geeking the fuck out. And Michael Chandler's like, thanks, Dana. Like, why the fuck can't Dana laugh at that joke? That shit was hilarious. Why can't he laugh at that joke? That shit was hilarious. You know what? Who didn't? I don't know. I mean, if I'm going to talk about it, like, Dana White privilege. If we're talking about Michael Chandler, they said Poirier turned down the fight. You can't give Conor the fight after losing to Poirier, necessarily, not outright. Can't just book him in a title fight. So Poirier turned it down. I don't know who else you go to outside of that small circle. So, but it was a fucking hilarious line. It was a hilarious line, and I'm fucking so happy he said it because it geeked me out. And I was like, yeah, that's a pretty good joke. You got Dana White privilege. And unfortunately for you Tony Ferguson fans, that's pretty much the only thing he's good at these days. I'm not a Tony Ferguson fan. I'm going to give you guys the social medias. If you want to follow this podcast on Instagram and Twitter, it's at Babylon5Pod. You can follow my personal account at My Name's Jermaine. You can email this podcast at Babylon5podcast@gmail.com. You can follow this podcast at Babylon5.podbean.com. You can listen to this podcast on Podbean, Stitcher, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, YouTube, pretty much anywhere podcast stream. And if you homeboys are on Xbox, go ahead and add me, though some tragedy happened. My name's Jermaine. I am an alcoholic, a wino, a lush, and what else you want to call it. Last night after UFC 262, I was like, oh, I'm faded, drinking. I'm like, oh, let's play a game of 2K. And before I knew it, I accidentally deleted my fucking character, my career. I had the maxed out 99. It was in my second year. I was already in my second year, you hear me? I was more than half, I had like 50. I was like 52-0 with the Boston Celtics in my second year. I left the Rockets, went to the Celtics, and we were balling. And I fucking just in a drunken stupor, like trying to play a game, somehow deleted my player, dude. Like, fuck. I was trying to figure out how to recover it, but nothing was showing me anything I could to recover it. So I don't know what's going to be there. So you guys can add me. If you're on Xbox, it's SauceBoss414, but it ain't going to be no 2K. I'm not doing that again. Or I don't know. We'll see. Because, like, honestly, I've never played. I usually always play as a center, you know? And this time I played as a 6'8", power forward. I usually play as like a 7-3 center. You're like, what? 7-3 center? Yeah, it's a 7-3 center, and it's usually not the most athletic person, but I'm not here to shoot threes. I'm not here to fucking run the court faster than anybody else. I'm here to play defense. I'm here to get rebounds. That was my character build, was defense and rebounds. So this time I went with a undersized power forward, and honestly, I felt like that was my best career right there. I was fucking balling, breaking records. Like, just before I fucking accidentally deleted this shit, fuck. I had just broke the record for single season 40-point games or some shit like that. And that's what I'm saying. I was in my second year. I'm not playing on, like, no bullshit ass fucking... which it doesn't make any sense to me because I was balling on the Rockets. But I guess, like, when you start, there might have been, like, 15 to 20 games. There might have been the first, like, 2 or 3 games that I didn't play any minutes at all. And then by the time I got into a game, I only played, like, 5 minutes. And then once I really started to being able to contribute, then at that point, you know what I'm saying? So maybe with the Rockets, I wasn't able to get that many 40-point games. But I was fucking balling with the Celtics. If you niggas know how to fucking recover a fucking deleted fucking profile, let me know, because I don't know if I'm going to do it again. But as I was saying, like, I've never played as, like, a small forward, shooting guard, point guard. Honestly, like, back in the day when I would pick center, it was because I thought it was, like, easier in the way that, like, most of the elite players are at that, like, the 3 or the 2. And then I felt like point guards are just too fast. But, of course, they're too fast if I'm playing with a character that is a 7-3 center, like unathletic center, who's just there dunking. He's got no range for shooting, just dunking and blocking shots is all he's there for. So, of course, when I play the game usually that way, I think, like, the other players are too fast. But as I was playing the 6'8" power forward, and I was balling, man. It was the most successful player build I've had. I was balling. And I was in with a 6'8" power forward, and when I joined the Celtics in my second year, so it's like you had Kemba Walker, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum at the 3, me at the 4 if you want, and Robert Williams, I think is his name, at the center. Another undersized center, 6'8", but BC with the defense. But I would put myself as a 99 overall player as the 6th man. And I would let Tristan Thompson start at power forward. And then I would come in off the bench. And we traded, I want this career. We traded for, I had them trade for KZ Okpala because I just needed some size and just like a decent player with some size on the bench. We got KZ Okpala for like a point guard that I wasn't having them play in the game because I'm a franchise player. And then they traded fucking Marcus Smart for Kyle Lowry, which worked out perfect because we traded a point guard that I wasn't playing in the game. I was just playing like 2 shooting guards, 2 guards, because they were taller. But then once we got Kyle Lowry, it was like, fuck, this squad is stacked. We're kind of perfect here. It doesn't matter who you put in the game at any point, like the starters or the bench players. This fucking squad is fucking too good, is where we were at. And I accidentally deleted it. So I'm going to try to look into it because I don't want to have to do that over. We were balling. But if I do it again, it's going to take a while to fucking build up a character. especially with the positions I ain't never played. Like, now I feel like, you know, it's more of a big man's league that can score. I've never really, like, played a game or did a character build with, like, a 3-point scorer. So, like, someone with outside shooting. I've always been, like, dunk-oriented. You know, I grew up, like, Vince Carter is who got me into the NBA. So, when I build these character builds, the players are typically dunk-oriented. That's just how that is. But at the end of that digression, yeah, add me on Xbox. It's SauceBoss414, as I said. If you guys are on Twitch, add me at twitch.tv/Babylon5. Just add me at Babylon5. If you niggas are on Teespring, go to Teespring. Not if you niggas are on Teespring. If you motherfuckers want to buy some merch, man. Go check out the merchandise. Go to teespring.com/stores/BOFpod-shop. Check out some merchandise. Go get that Babylon 5 gear, some t-shirts, some hoodies, some masks. Get you some shit. Stop fucking around. I think they got baby clothes. I think we got baby clothes on there. Get your baby some Babylon 5 gear. What you doing? Your baby sitting out here like, why don't I have the Babylon 5 gear? Get your baby some Babylon 5 gear. It's up there. You want to let your baby just be fucking depressed that it ain't got no Babylon 5 gear? Get your baby some Babylon 5 gear. Quit playing. Add me on Discord at Babylon 5 Pod. I think that's what it was. I didn't put it on here when I was doing it. It would have made sense for me to enter it into my notes, to my perma notes. But I didn't. So hopefully that's what it is on Discord. Hopefully. If you niggas want to support the podcast in general so we can get some cool new shit, go to patreon.com/Babylon5Pad so we can upgrade this shit. We'll get into that in a second here. You guys can hear that buzzing, that whistling, which tells you I don't have the Mac Mini. Before we get into that, if you guys are on TikTok, go ahead and add me at Babylon 5 Podcast on TikTok. But as for the Mac Mini, ladies and gentlemen, as I mentioned last week, I did purchase a new Mac Mini, and it's a very powerful machine as advertised, but it didn't mention like what year the model was. I wasn't sure what year the model was, but as powerful as it was like, oh, it's probably because it was like i5 processor and all, you know, it was like the specs of it was like telling me that it was a later model. Turned out to be a 2012 model. When I get it and you can look at the shit and it's like, came out in 2012, and the model was just like it's powerful, but it's too old to run the program or the plugins. So like I use Studio One, but like when I'm recording here, even though I sound so fucking beautiful here, I'm using plugins with this. I'm using some plugins just to give my voice a little oomph. You know what I'm saying? And when it came to the Mac Mini, right away. Well, not right away. I mean, I got the Mac Mini, and then my keyboard, I ordered a wireless keyboard off of Amazon, and I tried to set that up, and it was missing the USB receiver that was supposed to come with it. It wasn't in the box. It wasn't in it was shown in the booklet that it would be placed it was like a slot inside the mouse. And I opened that up, like where you open it up, you put batteries. But I remember looking at it and I was like, why is this piece here so huge for just batteries? And it was because on the inside there is where it would store the piece to connect for the USB for the wireless keyboard and mouse. But it just wasn't there. There was nothing in there. There was no USB fucking receiver. So I wasn't able to use it right away when I got the Mac Mini. And I had to get another keyboard. And once I got to use that the next day and download shit and tried to upload it, and when I opened up just the last episode. I opened up the session in Studio One from the last episode on the Mac Mini, and it was like, what? This shit is foreign. And it was saying I needed, like the available fucking operating system. It was just like the operating system I had, the updates, it just like, it surpassed that 2012 model. I wasn't able to use all my Waves plugins. All my Waves plugins. I think I have an N-Isotope plugin on here, and that wasn't an issue. But all my Waves plugin, which is the majority of what I use, is Waves plugins. It was like, nope, bro, you're not using any of that. And that's everything that I probably use, probably not even an Isotope plugin. I think I just use Waves and then the PreSonus stock plugins, because Isotope kind of acts funny when I'm trying to record. Isotope acts real funny. But, yeah, it just didn't work. It was too old. So I sent it back. So I ordered it offline, and I don't know what to do now. Because I was debating on getting a Dell. I was looking at the model. There's this, like, Dell, like, X something, XPS, like, 8930 or some shit like that. It's some shit where it's, like, 16 gigs of RAM, like, 32... Or it's like, it was like 32 gigs of RAM and like 4 terabytes of storage for like 900. And I'm just like, it's about the same amount as a new Mac Mini, but like has twice the RAM of the model that I'm seeking and has 4 times the original storage as the model of Mac that I'm seeking, a Mac Mini that I'm seeking, for pretty much the same price as the less powerful Mac Mini. So I'm sitting here debating. I don't know what to do. Like, I don't know if you're listening to this, if you know, like, yo, dude, there's no worries. That's what I'm thinking, like, when it comes to computers. Like, when I was younger, I was raised with Mac shit, you know? My school, I was like on Mac's website earlier, and it's like they have it like, are you a school? Figure out how to get Mac to your school. And we were one of those schools, I guess, where we had Macs on every desk. So I grew up using Macintosh computers. You know what I'm saying? Like when these Macs didn't exist, I grew up with these big fucking machines, big white machines with a rainbow colored apple on it. You know what I'm saying? That's what I grew up using originally. And as they fucking upgraded their products, they sent us at our schools their new products. So I grew up using Macs. So when I went to high school and them niggas used like Windows, I was like, what the fuck is this slow ass, dusty ass, nasty ass thing here? What is this? This isn't a computer. This is a joke. This is not a computer. Because you turn it on. Like, I'm someone who grew up randomly in the fucking ghetto, right? Poorest nigga in my school. In the ghetto. I was thinking about this the other day. I was thinking about some shit. And, like, most people, even, like, my black friends lived in, like, a 2-parent home. They had 2 parents at home. They had 2 incomes for the most part. So I was, like, probably easily the poorest nigga in my school, but at the same time, like in my grade at least, I don't know people's personal lives, like younger or older than me, but as far as in my grade, I was the poorest nigga in both classes. The classes were usually separated by, like each grade, there's 2 different 8th grades, 2 different 7th, 6th, you know what I'm saying? So I was the poorest nigga at A.E. Burdick. But at the same time, I grew up bougie with these Macs. So now I'm sitting here like, yeah, that shit is $900 for all that shit there. And the Mac over there, with way less capabilities according to these specs, is twice the price. And I'm of the opinion that you get what you pay for. That's why Burger King tastes better than McDonald's. You get what you pay for. I'm of that opinion. So to me, it's just like, damn, that looks like a fucking great deal. The thing that I was reading, it was like, this is the wolf in sheep's clothing. And it's like, it looks like a good deal, but Jesus Christ, man. If you, like, I don't even have an option to upgrade a Mac to that much RAM. That's not even an option. And that shit is cheaper than the way less, more advertised, powerful Mac. So it can't be good, is where I'm standing. It can't be good because it's cheaper than the way less powerful Mac. And it's like, well, maybe you're just paying for the brand with the Mac, but I don't know. I have a Mac now, and I'm going through some struggles. Ladies and gentlemen. I mean, I've rearranged how I have my desk here, and I've moved the laptop away. At first, I used to have this microphone in a box, like a studio box. And then I had the laptop in front of me. But it's just like, shit, that shit gets so loud. Like right away, or as soon as I opened up the program, Studio One, it was silent. And then the second I opened it up, it got super loud. I hadn't opened the program or anything. It just got super loud. And then I closed it. And I let it chill for like 3 minutes, and it went silent again. Like, it was just no more loud noises. It's just that it's just that the laptop isn't. As I looked it up, yeah, this is the worst laptop for music production. And I opened up my Mac Mini. I opened up the programs like OBS, Studio One. And I just like left it on for a little bit, and I came back and it was still silent. It wasn't like overheated. It was working fine. So like, I think I pretty much have my mind set on a Mac Mini. Something that I didn't even know existed maybe 2 weeks ago. But now I feel like it's the computer for me. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully, I'd say one or two more records with this setup, and then we can hopefully do some things. Because, yeah, I was feeling the power of that Mac Mini. I was feeling the power of that Mac Mini, and I just really wish it could have worked. Because right away, I was like, oh, shit, I'm about to do some. Oh, shit, that's fast. That happened pretty quick. And I was like, oh, shit, I'm about to play around with this. And it was like, error, can't load any of this shit. And it's like, oh, fuck. I can't use any of my plugins? Like, fuck. As I was saying, like, when I was saying, like, I got something on here right now where I can, like, it, like, takes care of background noise. And I couldn't use that if I still had that Mac Mini. I can't use that. And I'm telling you guys right now, like when I stop talking, you can hear that slight hum in the background. And I moved the laptop away, as I'm saying, because it's so fucking loud. I figured I needed to move it away to the side while I'm recording, because otherwise it'd be too loud. So it can only go on for as long as it can. And it just seems like when I be buying shit, it just be taking like, oh, well, whatever, we're going to take fucking 2 weeks to send it to you. And it's like, all right, well, then let me return it. And it's like returned in a day. How? Why did you tell me it was going to take me all these days? Like, I order it on the 1st, and you're just like, oh, it's going to take till the 15th. And then I get it on the 15th, I'm like, ah, shit, this ain't what I need. Send it back up. received 2 hours after I fucking returned it. It's like, whoa, what do you mean received? Back in California? It's already back in California? How did you do that fast? Oh, well, we do warp speed travel on return deliveries. You didn't mark that off. That's an extra $1,000. It's like, oh, well, no, thank you. I'll wait my 15 days. Like a chump. That's what I'll choose to do, ladies and gentlemen. I'll wait my 14 to 15 days like a motherfucking chump. You had J. Cole drop a new album. Damn, you know what the thing is right here? Is I don't even know what the album is called. What is it called? The Cool Off or some shit like that? Let's see what the album's called if I can find it. I should be able to find it pretty quickly. I'm sure it'll pop up. It's called The Off Season. It's called The Off Season. And if I don't know the name of the album off top, I'm talking about it here. I have it in my notes, but I guess I didn't see a reason to put the name of the album in here. I've seen some people I know, some respectable wordsmiths say that they feel like this is Cole's best album. I disagree. I felt like his best album, and I still feel that way, is KOD. I felt like that was his best project. That shit had me from start to finish. For me, it was no skippers. Wasn't no skippers on KOD. This album, it's alright. It's alright. Pride is the Devil, grabbed me right away. Like, I started singing along to the chorus. Like, he does the, terrified, paranoid, I push you over everything to fill the void, but when you're gone, will I have anything or will I be destroyed? And, like, by the time he said that the second time, I was, like, singing along with it. And then she's like, pride is the devil. I was singing along with it. I already, like, was, like, just like, whoa, what is this? Like, I already, like, right when it came on, I already knew that I fucked with that song. Like, I already knew it was my favorite song on the album, like, as it started. I was like, whoa, wait, what is this? And it went off, and it just hit every element that I was like, yup, that gets Jermaine hype. That gets Jermaine hard. But, yeah, I was like, that hits everything. That hits everything there that I needed for just new music, man. I was talking to my wife. I was like, fuck, I haven't listened to Kanye in a while. And I'm thinking it's because, like, as far as I'm concerned, Kanye hasn't dropped any new music in so long. So it's like, I'm less inclined to keep going back and revisiting the old shit because there's no new shit to keep me reminded, like, oh, this nigga's so cold, Maybe that's what it is. Or maybe it's not. Maybe I'm just phasing out of old Kanye. But I'd say this album, The Off Season, is decent. It's not, I'd say, in my opinion, it's definitely not his best body of work. As I said, I think that's KOD. He had Cameron on the album, on the intro. I thought that was pretty amazing. And then, like, on the end of the intro, had Lil Jon on there. I was like, yo, that's pretty dope. It's called, I think, 95 Till Infinity or 95 South was the name of that song. And then I thought the second song, Amari, was fire. Amari's pretty cool. I think most of the songs are pretty short. They're pretty short songs. 100 Mil is cool. He got the line where he talks about Michael B. Jordan couldn't take his bitch or some shit like that. I'm like, I fucking relate to that. You know what I'm saying? Because Michael B. Jordan couldn't take my bitch. Or couldn't take mi esposa. Mi bonita esposa. Mi bonita es mi esposa es muy bonita. But he said that whole thing about Michael B. Jordan. I was like, yeah, I fucks with that line. On 100 mil. It's a solid album. I mean, it's decent. But for me, it's like, it's typically what I expect from a J. Cole album. That chill-ass vibe. And then he gives you like one or two like Pride is the Devil's. I think your three Pride is the Devil's songs of that itch where it just gets you like, oh shit. Is Amari, Pride is the Devil, and The Climb Back. The Climb Back is pretty fucking dope, too. But I don't think this is his best project. I feel like he's had definitely stronger bodies of work before this. I'd say KOD. I think a few of his other projects are better than this. I like For Your Eyes Only. Is the project. I think that has, like, She's Mine. If I'm not mistaken. Catch me. I'm done. Or what is this shit? Truly Yours. No. For Your Eyes Only is 2016. It's got Ville Mentality. How long can I survive with this mentality? How long can I survive with this mentality? Trials and tribulations I'm facing in this age of information. I hate this shit cause niggas hit my phone when they want some shit. Bitches hit my phone when they want some dick. Damn it, won't be long for I disappear. 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 You call it running, I call it escaping. Find a new and foreign location. Can't take the possible time that he facing. I forget how the lyrics go. That's my shit, but that's my shit, that Ville Mentality. How long can I survive with this mentality? That's my shit. I was like, let me just vibe out. You know what I'm saying? Turn it off, nigga. Turn it off. You ain't feeling the vibes. I'm out here vibing to J. Cole. Shout out to J. Cole, man. He just debuted in the African Basketball League. He played for the Rwandan Patriots. Shout out to Jermaine Lamar Cole. That's crazy. I'm Jermaine Jamar. He's Jermaine Lamar. I'm Jermaine Jamar. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Yo, I thought this nigga was 40. Because he got a line on the album, on Prize the Devil. He was like, made it out my 30s, no one murdered me. But he's 36. He's born 85. He only 4 years older than me. So, shout out to Jermaine Lamar from Jermaine Jamar. And you know what I'm saying? You did your thing. Let me, at that point, say the album fire, because I didn't realize just how close our names were. You're Jermaine Lamar, my nigga. Trials and tribulations I'm facing in this age of information. I hate this shit, because niggas hit my phone when they want some shit. Bitches. Now, let's see what it is. You call it running, I call it escaping. Start a new life in a foreign location. Similar to my niggas ducking cases. Can't take the possible time that he facing. That's what it is right there. You niggas feel the vibes. You feel the vibes. Nah, this definitely is not J. Cole's best body of work. That fucking For Your Eyes Only, I feel like was slept on hard. The She's Mine Part 1 and Part 2 were fucking dope. I remember my buddy Jordan at the time was saying, like, it's too grown for me. And I'm like, I don't know. He's got songs on there called, like, Folded Clothes. I want to fold clothes for you. And shit like that. He was like, nah, it's too grown. That album's way better than this new album. I've only listened to the album from front to back twice at this point. I've listened to Pride is the Devil probably like 30 times, maybe more at this point. But I don't know if too much on this album has a lot of like replay value. I don't know what more outside of those 3 songs that I named earlier have that much replay value. So I'm happy he dropped new music. He's definitely giving me some gems, some shit that I'm going to keep on repeat for a little bit here. But it's definitely not his best body of work. You know, something real whack, I would say, happened. I would say it's whack overall. If I had to really think about the whole situation, I would say it's pretty whack. So, like, I had started to think the other day, I was like, yo, I haven't seen a post from the Joe Budden podcast. Like, are they on another hiatus? And then it was like Monday, I'm looking like, yo, they haven't posted anything. I was like searching YouTube for the Joe Budden podcast. And I think that I hadn't seen anything on like Saturday or anything like that. And I'm like, yo, where's the podcast? And then Tuesday, it gets fucking posted that they posted a podcast where they posted a podcast where Joe Budden fires Rory, and then they fucking removed it, but people had already like taken the audio, did whatever they could to just like upload it. People took like strikes or whatever. Chigs, shout out to Chigs, whatever your fucking name is. But I've been on his channel a lot lately. But he's been posting all this shit. Apparently they posted shit to Patreon. And Joe Budden, so he fires Rory, and he's saying that Joe Budden was saying that Rory was constantly trying to was complaining about the whole thing. He was saying that they just don't know about business. He's talking about Rory and Maul. But Joe mainly is speaking out, is lashing out toward Rory and saying that Rory convinced Maul to turn against him. This is Joe on the episode and saying that Rory was sending emails for years about accounting and all this. And he's just going in yo, I will never open my books for you guys and yada, yada, yada. He fires Rory. Says Rory's never welcome on the podcast. And he says that Maul hasn't answered his call and he wants Maul to talk to him. And so then Maul, and he said, but Joe also says that if they can start their own podcast, but if they do, he was like, but if they do it right now, he says they have to wait a year because if they start it right now, it'd be a breach of contract, and he will sue them. He was like, I will sue the fucking pants off them if they start a podcast. And then, thankfully, though, immediately, Maul and Rory start a podcast or some shit. They start their own podcast. And they upload it and they talk about the whole situation. Thankfully. And they say their contract was percentage-based. Their contract was percentage-based from the beginning. That's just how it was. They get a percentage of everything that comes in. They clearly get a smaller percentage than Joe, but they get a percentage. That's just how their contract was based. But during this, leading up to the whole fallout, they would say that Joe would constantly say, I'm going to put you guys on salary once your contract is up. He's saying he's going to pay them a set amount of money rather than keeping them on the contract they agreed to as friends, where they get a set percentage of everything that comes in. Joe is now upset at the amount of money that he's paying out to them because he feels like he's telling them that he could bring in 2 co-hosts and pay both of them collectively the amount it would pay that the amount it would cost to pay one of these, Rory or Mal, like half of them. The amount to pay one of them just like half of their money is exactly what he figures it would cost him to just bring in 2 new hosts. And he keeps talking, and Joe apparently keeps mentioning, I'm gonna make you guys salary once this contract's up. And they're just like, nah, man. Like, at that point, they're like, yo, they know that they were going to leave the podcast because they were never going to accept that to go from the percentage, the contract they agreed to a much smaller amount, a much smaller set amount, no matter what the new deals are coming. So, like, you got Joe sitting here preaching about, like, you guys are getting all these fucking deals and yada yada through us. And then you're like, oh, no, you can't get anything. You can't get any percentages of it because of your contract. You're in a contract, and your contract doesn't say that. And then he turns around to his friends, people like Mal, who he's lived with. They've been cool for like 20 years or some shit, what they were talking about. And he says, no, I have to take you off of this percentage contract and put you on the salary so that you guys can't get a piece of whatever the deals that are going on with the Joe Budden network that he's trying to build. So it's crazy, man. They were saying how Rory and Mal were on their new podcast talking about how through their contracts, they're supposed to get quarterly reports of the accounting. They have some third-party accounting company taking care of their finance, like dealing with their finances. And they're supposed to get quarterly reports through their contracts, and they weren't getting reports. So then they started asking about it, and there was pushback from Joe about them asking about the quarterly reports of their finances. And when they finally were able to get the reports, they were able to see right away that there was like a $400,000 mistake. And Joe was pretty upset about that, as if like they were accusing him of stealing $400,000. But the whole thing is like they want to know the numbers of what's coming in. So just that they know that they're getting a proper percentage of everything. But even with this situation, there was pushback, and then they got this, and they saw that, like, yo, this is random $400,000. Like, it's a $400,000 error right here. And the company was like, oh, yeah, blah, 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 that was an error. I'm so sorry that happened. And he said that was the last time they were ever given any reports. That was the last time that they were given any reports, even though that's, like, in their contract that they were supposed to get those reports, apparently. So that was the last time that they were given those reports. And anytime it was brought up again, Joe would be like, oh, you guys are trying to like destroy my character and paint me out to be some kind of thief or something. Like they said, anytime they would ask about the accounting records, like just like, let me get the reports from accounting, he would fucking flip out, start yelling at them like, you piece of shit, you're out here trying to do this, do that. Like he'd flip out, like, and they were kept saying that there were certain moments where they'd be sitting there and he'd just flip out and lash at them, and they'd be like, yo, who is this person that I'm talking to? Like, this isn't the person that I thought I knew. And they were saying that there's other members of Slaughter, like Royce the 5'9". They spoke to Royce the 5'9", and he was telling them about other instances with Joe. And King Crooked was King Crooked. Fuck King Crooked. No, not fuck King Crooked. He can spit. But his name used to be Crooked Eye, and I was like gonna use that name to rap. And then I was like, there's another rapper named Crooked Eye. And then he changed his name to King Crooked. And it's like, dude, fuck you. But anywho. But like they were saying how like these members of Slaughterhouse were, you know, saying all that. But he had an interview, apparently. Joe Budden had a pull-up with King Crooked, and there was a point where King Crooked was saying how like, bro, we have these contracts, we have to fulfill the contents of this contract. And Joe was like, I'm never fucking fulfilling a contract. I'm never worried about that, like fulfilling a fucking contract. And King Crooked is just like, well, if that's your stance, then I don't know what we're talking about. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if your stance is like, I don't need to fulfill the terms of what I agree to do, then, like, there's no talking to this person. Like, you're not going to listen. You have your mindset on what you're going to do. Rory and Maul were saying there were certain times where they would talk to Joe about, like, certain deals, and they would look at things, and Joe would be like, I would never pay you guys that amount if I got that much on a deal. And they're just like, yo, actually, that's how percentages work, so we would get that amount. And he's just like, absolutely not. I would never pay you guys that much off of that kind of deal. So they're all just like sitting there like, yo, that's weird. And it intensifies with them saying like, yo, send us the accounting information. We haven't gotten any accounting reports. And then Joe officially fucking fires them because they're fucking asking about it. And he says like his stance. He's like, well, once they're trying to audit me, then they kill the whole vibe of the podcast and you can't audit the podcast and still stay here. Which at the time, before Maul and Rory spoke out on their stance, I was like, I guess I understand. But, like, then when I hear their stance that they were supposed to get these reports, you're openly saying how you don't care about honoring contracts. And then you said to them, I would never pay you the guys this much off of that kind of deal. And they're saying, well, actually you would, because according to our contracts, that's how percentages work. And he's like, no, I would never pay you guys that much. And then when they ask, like, yo, how much did we make off of this deal? Like, they asked how much did they make off the Spotify deal, and he refuses to divulge that information. He said on his podcast, they're just lazy. He's like, if they look at how much they got paid, then they could see how much the deal was. But the whole point of their argument is that they don't know if they were accurately paid. They just want to make sure that they're accurately paid. So tell them how much the deal was so they could be like, oh, yeah, I was accurately paid. But if you tell them what the deal is, they look at it and they're like, holy shit, he still owes me all of this. I should have got this percentage based off of their contract. So it's like, Joe kind of comes off looking like a snake. And then you got everybody pretty much pointing out that Joe would do this. Charlemagne said he would do this. Academic said he would do this. Everybody said this would happen. And then it happens just that way as everybody said it would happen. It's fucking crazy. I mean, if Rory and Maul have a podcast that's available, I mean, I'll listen, I guess. I don't know Rory and Maul, you know what I'm saying? I grew up listening to Joe Budden, but that sounds like some real snake shit. I mean, I'm saying this right now. I was saying I wasn't going to vibe with Ish and the other guy, Ish and Ice. I said I wasn't going to vibe with Ish and Ice, but about episode 3, the third episode of them niggas being in there, I was like, damn, it's kind of cool. Niggas got the whole rapport. They kind of like being around each other. It was a whole other vibe than what you have been getting recently from these guys who clearly didn't want to be around each other. So, I said that. And I'm saying right now, it's just weird, man. Just hearing them say what they're saying about Joe and then just his take on the whole thing. I'm real interested to see what the next episode of the Joe Budden Podcast is going to sound like. But, because he's got to address this shit. Him firing Rory on the podcast, then deleting the episode. Then they come out with their own podcast. Pretty much just, like, calmly, like, shutting down every, like, accusation and claim of these people doing that. Like, a lot of claims, he was saying how, like, Rory and Maul weren't bringing anything to the table, weren't going out there seeking deals. And he was saying how, like, Rory was saying he came to Joe with the Spotify deal. before they had it. And Joe, like, fucking lashed out. I'm like, dude, no fucking way. Don't talk to people about this podcast. Don't talk about this podcast with other people. He said Joe flipped out about the deal. And he said, like, a month or two later, Joe came back to them with the Spotify deal with the exact same numbers that he came to them with. All of a sudden, it was cool. And it's like, yo, you were saying, yo, you don't bring anything to the table. It's just weird, man, because, like, it would be one thing if it was just Rory saying this. And so you have Joe fired Rory and was saying, like, he feels like Rory is brainwashing Maul. And then Rory and Maul do a podcast together where Rory was talking about, like, yo, man, this dude's changing. He's co-signing with all the shadiness of the accounting. And he's like, yo, money just amplifies who you are. And, like, he's clearly not brainwashed by Rory. They're painting this dude out to be just a pretty shady individual. You know what I'm saying? When there was a third co-host on See the Thing Is, the new podcast on the Joe Budden Network. It's like a 3-girl podcast. And I don't know, it was weird shit about sexual harassment or some shit with the girl, but she ended up leaving because she was saying it's just weird with Joe. And it's just interesting. It's interesting to see how it's just a toxic environment just to, I don't know. Like, if you only get his perspective, because then you have, like, Parks and everybody with Joe, like, co-signing everything he's saying. It's like, okay. But even when you get the fucking retort with Rory and Maul, they're shouting out that, like, they were just trying to make sure everybody else got paid. They said to, like, take that Spotify money and pay it out to everybody else, including Parks. And, like, fucking Maul put emphasis. He was like, Parks, paying Parks. Like, he kept saying Parks, like as if Parks is underpaid, like seriously underpaid for what he's doing. So at that point, it makes me side with Rory and Maul. But I'm real interested to see how everything sounds in this next episode of the Joe Budden Podcast whenever it happens, because it's been crazy, man. Fucking, yeah, Afion Crockett putting out a fucking parody of it. Kevin Hart spoke out about it. You got a lot of people speaking out about this. It's a lot bigger than I realized. A lot more people are paying attention to this than I realized. But I guess I'm at this point, I'm siding with Rory and Maul, man. Joe sounds like a very toxic person who tried to, like, paint the image that he could do the podcast with anyone. He didn't need Rory and Maul. He tried to paint the image before they could go out and speak on their own podcast, form a new podcast and speak, that they were just trying to shit on his character and all this shit. And it's like, yo, man, you were being shady that whole time. And they're pointing out how Rory was, like, the main person trying to hold the podcast together, doing everything he could to keep the podcast together. And, like, Joe was pretty much shitting on all his efforts. It's just pretty interesting. So at this point, yeah, I got to side with Rory and Maul, which is who I wanted to side with in the first time, but then that Ish and Ice shit, that was some good podcast. So we'll see how I feel going forward. I'll maybe touch back on it in a couple weeks briefly. I'll briefly touch on it, but yeah. But, you know, moving on. You know, in UFC news, we got some fights announced here that I think are pretty interesting. We got Johnny Walker versus Thiago Santos on September 25th. That's going to be a fucking banger, all right? There's definitely issues about Johnny Walker's chin, but now there's definitely issues about, like, is Thiago Santos over the hill? Has those injuries affected him into a point where he's not the guy who came close to defeating John Jones? You know what I'm saying? Like, is he at that level? And then it's like, how good is Johnny Walker? How good is a dialed-in Johnny Walker? We all know him to be the fucking super exciting fighter. And then fucking Thiago Santos. Back in the day, violence, if you looked up the word violence in the fucking dictionary, you'd see a picture of Thiago Santos. Like, that's what it was back in the day. But he's on a 2-fight losing streak, if I'm not mistaken. He lost to Glover Teixeira and John Jones. Johnny Walker just beat, I think Ryan Spann, if I'm not mistaken. Right? Johnny Walker defeats... no, that's not. That's the wrong Johnny Walker. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the wrong Johnny Walker. Yeah, Johnny Walker, nigga 29 years old. Is that how you spell that nigga's name? Johnnny? He got 2 N's. That's how you spell that nigga's name? Yeah, he just beat Ryan Spann. Knocked that nigga out in the first round. He almost got knocked out, if I'm not mistaken. And then was able to recover and knock out Ryan Spann. So he lost to Nikita Krylov. I don't even remember that fight. Via unanimous decision. Who was the main event? Leo Oliveira? That was the last one when the pandemic happened. Damn, I don't remember that fight. But he lost to Krylov and he lost to Corey Anderson. Got knocked out by Corey Anderson in the first round. But other than that, he was blazing hot. I think I'm going to have to go with Johnny Walker in this fight. Gonna have to go with Johnny Walker versus Thiago Santos on September 25th, but I would love for Thiago Santos to show me something. I mean, he's undersized. He was a middleweight for so long. He's undersized at 205. I'm going with my boy Johnny Walker against Thiago Santos. Then you got Paulo Costa scheduled to take on Jared Cannonier August 21st. That's a fucking banger. That's a good fight right there. Like, whose will? They both want to impose their will on their opponents. Like, who will be able to? Who will be able to impose their will, man? I feel like Cannonier just has too many weapons for Paulo Costa. Though I think Paulo will be the stronger person. He'll be the stronger striker in there. So it just comes down to Jared being smart in there. Moving in and out. Moving in the right directions, not moving into the power of Paulo Costa. That's a great fight. Paulo Costa versus Jerry Cannonier, and I feel like whoever wins that gets to face the winner of versus Israel Adesanya versus Marvin Vettori. I feel like. I mean, if they're not doing anything with Robert Whittaker, I feel like whoever wins this fight gets that matchup. But this weekend we had UFC 262. Some interesting things. I saw Edson Barboza finish Shane Burgos in the 3rd round. He hit him. It was a bizarre knockout, which I've since then I've seen some. I saw a video of a similar knockout, which is pretty interesting. But Edson Barboza, he catches Shane Burgos with this fucking beautiful right hook. Catches him. And Burgos, he takes it, and he just, he keeps coming forward like he's ready to fight. And then all of a sudden, like, his body just starts to fail on him, and he starts to fall back, and he hits the fence, and then he just, like, his eyes are just, like, you can see him, he starts to lose focus. His body just starts shutting down on him, and he falls down and passes out. Like, he caught these punches, was still awake, and then delayed response. His body just, like, shut down. People were saying, like, yo, this has never happened. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen. But crazy enough, Lando Venata fought tonight, right? Charles Oliveira fought tonight. Separate opponents. They didn't fight each other tonight. But when they fought each other like 4 years ago, Lando Venata knocks out Charles Oliveira. He hits him, and there was a delayed reaction. Charles starts to come forward and then just collapse. He just collapses. It was pretty similar. Pretty similar to this knockout here. It happened 4 years ago with two fighters that were both fighting on this card. That's just... MMA is just an interesting sport, but it's like... You know, you had the thing with Chris Weidman in the leg. Like, Anderson Silva broke his leg on Weidman, throwing a leg kick to Weidman. And then Weidman breaks his leg, throwing a leg kick to Old Boy, when Old Boy was seen as the next coming Anderson Silva. What is his name? I'm thinking like a U. There's like a U or something. Uriah Hall. Yeah, he was fighting Uriah Hall, who was supposed to be the next Anderson Silva. He threw a leg kick versus someone who was supposed to be the next Anderson Silva and breaks his leg in the same way that the original Anderson Silva broke his leg against him. Like, this sport is crazy. I just think it's interesting on the same night that you have Lando Venata fighting and Charles Oliveira fighting. A similar knockout that was the end result to their fight happens here. It's pretty interesting. Yet Tony Ferguson taking on Beneil Dariush, and I'm trying to tell you boys that Tony Ferguson is the most overrated fighter on the roster, if not in all of MMA. He's so trash. He always got lucky. People usually come in and put it on Tony, and then, like, they get tired. And he fucking somehow just, like, catches them with some shit. They get tired. They start to tire down. And they're usually, like, dominating. They're usually, like, beating Tony's ass in the first round. And then, like, they start to take more chances in the second round. And that's when he catches them. But this fight, Dariush landing a bit on Tony. Tony, like, didn't throw any punches at all. Ferguson was, like, scared to throw punches, all right? He got dominated by Justin Gaethje with strikes. And then even though he was throwing against Charles Oliveira, Oliveira completely dominated. His striking meant nothing. And in this fight, he threw a few teep kicks, but he wasn't throwing any punches. Because what happened last time he threw punches? Got his ass beat twice. He's a shell of his former self. He won't even fucking throw his own He started training with Freddie Roach. Freddie Roach was there with him to shore up his fundamentals. But the whole thing with Tony Ferguson is that he isn't orthodox. He's an unorthodox fighter. He throws crazy strikes at you. And now he's been training with Freddie Roach to where he wants to, like, shore up those holes and be more orthodox, the opposite of Tony Ferguson. And he goes in there and he doesn't throw any strikes. He doesn't throw punches. He's fucking done. He looked fucking so embarrassed at the end of this fight. 3-round domination for Beneil Dariush on Tony Ferguson. 3-round domination. Nation of domination for Beneil Dariush. So Tony Ferguson, yes, he got the best line from the press conference, from the UFC 262 press conference. I even named this episode after that funny joke, but Tony Ferguson himself is a funny joke, all right? He's a funny joke. He's trash. He was somehow still ranked in number 5. Beneil Dariush should move up to the top 5 after this, and they should fucking cut Tony Ferguson. He's trash. I saw people on Twitter advocating for Tony Ferguson versus Cowboy. Dude, Cowboy just got his fucking ass beat by Tony Ferguson 2 years ago. He doesn't move his head. Like, yeah, that would be a good win. That'd be a automatic win for Ferguson. But what does it really mean for either one? Cut them both. Like, it means nothing for either one. So, Ferguson's overrated. He's trash. He's so trash. Every time I hear him talk, it's like, how can you be so delusional? He's so delusional. It makes no sense, bro. How can you be this delusional? Moving on, man. Fuck Tony Ferguson. So in the main event, you had Charles Du Bronx Oliveira versus Iron Michael Chandler. Last week, I was like, I don't know if this man has a nickname. He's Iron Michael Chandler, like Mike Tyson, Iron Mike Tyson. He's Iron Michael Chandler. And he did live up to the name, ladies and gentlemen, I'll say. I say better, because Mike Tyson has never really dealt with adversity. But anywho, like, he's lost fights, but that's because anytime he's faced any adversity, he quit, is what I'm saying with Mike Tyson. But first round, so Charles gets cracked early, faces a guillotine. Like, the strikes from Chandler were pretty quick early on. He's super fast. And he catches Charles early, and Charles gets put in a guillotine, but he gets out, all right? And then Charles takes, like, once he gets out of that guillotine, he's on top of Chandler, and Chandler fucking gives up his back. Oliveira takes the back and is, like, working for a guillotine, puts the body triangle on. And Chandler, like, stands up and then slams himself backwards. He has Oliveira on his back, and he slams backwards with Oliveira on his back. And the commentators are like, yo, Chandler just put himself deeper into that body triangle. Like, that was a terrible move. So they're saying, like, yo, that's pretty inexperienced. But then Chandler somehow was able to explode from this position, like, to his feet. And then they both get up, and, like, Chandler, like, is able to land again. He catches Oliveira with, like, 2 good strikes. He keeps this pressure on Oliveira, catches him, drops Oliveira. And he's like, it was the same exact position. Like, when he caught Dan Hooker, like, fell to his knees, his, like, hands and knees, like he's, like, fucking praying or some shit. Like, bowing, we're not worthy. Dan Hooker dropped down that way. When I watched the highlight videos of Michael Chandler, I was like, ooh, Chandler, because he'd hit people, and then they'd fall to their hands and knees. And then he'd fucking sit over them and rain down punches. What happened in this fight? He fucking catches Oliveira, and Oliveira falls down to his hands and knees in the exact same position. He's got some real power. It's crazy to have that kind of power where I know I've done it multiple times. I touch people with this hand, and they fucking do this. They fall down to their hands and knees every time I touch them with this hand. That's some crazy power. Chandler's for real, all right? Chandler is for real. He's got some power. He catches Oliveira. Oliveira drops down to his hands and knees. Chandler goes over him in the same way that he did with Dan Hooker, and just starts lighting this man up with punches. And I'm thinking about, like, oh, shit. Like, I'm watching this, like, and I'm thinking about when Chandler was saying, like, yo, he doesn't, like, he has that quit in him. He's quit before, and he'll quit again. And I'm like, fuck. Here we are. And he's going to fucking finish Oliveira in the first round. But Oliveira had the sound of mind to fucking get out of there. He fucking rolled out of there, used his legs to create some space, and was able to get out of the first round. And I wrote here that Oliveira was surviving leaving that first round, just barely surviving. And I thought, like, when he was raining down punches on Oliveira, and Oliveira's just there on his hands and knees with no defense, just taking punches to the head, I'm like, yo, the ref can stop this at any point. But the ref didn't. He didn't stop the fight for whatever reason. I thought it could have been stopped, and he didn't. So I wrote here, it's not. I put 10-9 for Chandler. I thought it was pretty back and forth round, but definitely that drop and almost finish, like that's the round for Chandler. So I wrote, it's not looking good, or it's not looking like it's going to get any easier for Oliveira, who looks very overwhelmed. That's what I wrote at the end of the first round. It's not looking like it's going to get any easier for Oliveira, who looks overwhelmed. And then I write, round 2, Charles Oliveira instantly drops Chandler with punches and finishes him. And new champion Charles Oliveira. He finished him, in 20 seconds of the second round? He almost got finished in the first round. In the second round, he comes out there and finishes Michael Chandler in 20 seconds, dude. It's beautiful. I was watching the review with the Weasel, and he was talking about how that worked so perfectly because Michael Chandler doesn't move left to right. Had he moved left, he would have been out of range of Oliveira. But because he just moves forward and back, he moved back at that last sequence before he got caught in the second round. And he was just still, because Oliveira is so much taller than him, so much longer than him, he was still in the range of Michael Chandler, and he got caught. So we have and new. I posted the clip the other day. I posted it today, actually. Let's play the clip. If you guys know, episode 71, my year-end episode, I posted fighters I thought, who had a good year and what I thought about what possibly could happen with him. But
the Bronx Oliveira is having the best year ever. Shout out to the Bronx. I called it, and I want my cookie. I said that he was going to dominate Tony Ferguson, and he went out there and dominated Tony Ferguson. He went out there and fucking just put on a show against Kevin Lee earlier this year. He's just been fucking great, man. You guys you've been blind to Du Bronx, and he had a great year. He's going to have a great 2021, I feel like. I feel like he could easily be the champ at 155.
That was my prediction. All right? At the end of the year, 2020, my prediction was that Charles Oliveira would be the champion in 2021. And here we have, ladies and gentlemen, your champion, Charles Du Bronx Oliveira. Congratulations to Charles Oliveira. I don't feel like there's a more deserving person. I commented on this I don't know if it's Facebook or MMA Fighting or some shit. It was a post about Charles Oliveira wins, blah, blah, and I commented, that I was like, even though he doesn't have a black son, I'm proud of him. And it got a lot of laughs because if you're an MMA fan, if you're an actual fan of the UFC, then you understand what I'm saying. There's memes I see every day of the whole black son thing with Michael Chandler. So I post even though he doesn't have a black son, I'm proud of Oliveira. And people were commenting why do you have to bring race into this? And I was going to comment why do they have to bring race into this? Why do they keep talking about him having a black son? Why? But I just was dude, you guys clearly have no idea. You don't even understand the joke that I'm saying here. So, why would I respond? But I just thought that was pretty funny that people were why do you have to bring race into this? And it's nigga. Why do they keep bringing... That's the joke. The joke is why do they keep bringing race into this? And it's even though he doesn't have a black son, I'm rooting for him. That was one thing that I was saying leading up to this. I'm I know Charles doesn't speak English, and I hope that's the reason, but there were so many interviews and promos for for Michael Chandler, and I saw nothing for Charles Oliveira. So maybe it's because he doesn't speak English. Maybe that's a big factor into it, or maybe it's because he doesn't have a black son. If Oliveira had adopted a black son, he'd probably be all over He probably would have been UFC champion fucking years ago. They would have booked him in the perfect matchup. Like, yo, this guy has a black son. Did you hear that? He has a black son. He's going to be the champion. But you got to have that Dana White privilege, I guess. But shout out, once again, congratulations, Charles Oliveira. Du Bronx, Charles Du Bronx Oliveira, you've earned it. You're a beast. As I said, he would be champion in 2021, and here he is, champion at 155 in 2021. Next week, we got UFC Vegas 27. You got headlined by Cody Garbrandt versus Rob Font. Rob Font is coming off a first-round knockout of Marlon Moraes, man. If you guys are like, who's Rob Font? Like, he just knocked out Marlon Moraes. Maybe that's a little more familiar for you. Former title challenger Marlon Moraes, who beat Jose Aldo, and then Jose Aldo was given a title shot. Marlon Moraes, he was just knocked out by Rob Font. So I'm at the point where I'm like, we don't know yet if Garbrandt's chin will hold up against a decent striker. We don't know yet. Like, will Cody get tagged and then fucking rage? Fucking forget all strategy and just fucking try to get Rob Font back? I don't know. I think this is a real interesting main event. Honestly, I'm going to go with Rob Font. I'm going to go with Font. I'd be cool with Garbrandt winning, but I'm going to go with Rob Font. Another fight that I find interesting about next week is Felicia Spencer versus Norma Dumont. And I'm pretty sure this is the last fight of the women's featherweight division, 145. As they said, they got rid of Megan Anderson. They're getting rid of the division, and they're still going to allow Amanda Nunes to hold the 145 belt with no division and just remain champ. So this is the last fight, I would imagine, for Felicia Spencer. I think Norma Dumont usually fights at 135, and Felicia Spencer says she's too big to fight at 135. So this, I imagine, would be the last fight for Felicia Spencer, and it should be a one-sided fight for Felicia Spencer. I think she's going to absolutely dominate Norma Dumont in this fight, probably get a first-round submission. That's what I think. And this is going to be the last fight for Felicia, so it'll be a nice farewell to Felicia. Good luck to her. And, whatever comes next for her. Maybe she'll go to PFL, fight for $1 million or whatever. But I wish they would have let her go to PFL before they started their season, because I think she'd be a pretty big player. I'd like to see her against Kayla Harrison. I think that's a pretty good test. But I'm curious where she goes after this. But I think this is the last fight for the phenom Felicia Spencer. So shout out to her and all the great moments she brought. I thought she could have beat Amanda Nunes, but I was clearly wrong. But yeah, so that's going to happen next week. And I'm going to give you guys the social medias. If you want to follow this podcast on Instagram and Twitter, it's at Babylon5Pod. You can follow my personal account at My Name's Jermaine. You can email this podcast at Babylon5podcast@gmail.com. You can listen to this podcast, or you can follow this podcast at Babylon5.podbean.com. You can listen to this podcast on Podbean, Stitcher, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, YouTube, pretty much anywhere podcast streaming. If you guys are on Xbox, be sure to add me at SauceBoss414. Add me at Twitch, at twitch.tv/Babylon5. You guys can cop some merchandise at teespring.com/stores/BOFpod-shop. And don't just be my Negroes, be my patrons. Go to patreon.com/Babylon5Pod. And if you guys are on TikTok, go ahead and add me at Babylon5 Podcast. This has been episode 91, Dana White Privilege. Thank you guys so much for being here another week. And I'll see you guys next week. Hope you guys are taking care of yourselves. Take care of yourselves and each other. And I will see you when I see you. I'll holla.
Chant down Babylon kingdom, team make me chant down Vatican now. chant down Babylon kingdom. Natty make we chant down Vatican no. Chant down Babylon kingdom. Natty make we chant down Vatican no. Bang chant down Babylon kingdom. Natty make we chant down Vatican